non-natural area. So wherever there's a paved over surface, you want to come up with a solution to attempt to capture, hold, and potentially infiltrate the water in ground. But of course we're talking about rooftops. So the green infrastructure plan looked at all the impervious surfaces or paved over surfaces in the city. 25% are roadways, 32% are parking lots, and 41% are buildings. So that 41% of course is sloped and flat roofs, and we're focusing on flat roofs for the most part when it comes to green roofs. And this is essentially the calculator that we use for the city. And flat roofs are in there. The main strategy is vegetated roofs. The goal from the city is to try and capture 15% of all those flat roofs and turn them into vegetated roofs, which is roughly 32 acres. Part of that, of course, was to disseminate information for us to learn about the technology, for us to train architects and roofers and engineers, and essentially underwrite some of those costs of training our local trades and developing a local commerce around this. And I think we were mildly successful, but we still have a long way to go. It's still an expensive technology, but what's pushing the technology is a lot of these clean water issues that, I talk about Lancaster City. The whole county is facing these same issues. The city's issue is unique because we have a combined sewer system, but the whole county is actually under a federal mandate to clean up all of our waterways and reduce stormwater overflows in general. In the county, however, you can look at a lot more ground infiltration because you have a lot of green space around. Even in this building, as I was walking up to this complex, there's almost no green space. There's no place to take the stormwater. So it's going to be a huge challenge moving forward for the city to come up with viable strategies for buildings and locations such as this one. Questions? I don't know the answer because I've only worked here. We work with a consulting firm out of Maryland. And I know there's a lot of work in DC, I know there's a lot of work in Chicago, I know there's a lot of work in Portland. I have not heard of anything in the Southwest. And, knowing that that's desert, I would think you'd almost have to irrigate to keep something down there viable, which in our mind isn't viable. I know they're going further north. I know Toronto and British Columbia are those cities are very, very aggressively pursuing green roof programs. And green infrastructure in general, I talk about green roofs, but most cities and most communities are taking that on as just one of a number of solutions around essentially creating cleaner rivers, cleaner waterways, and improving urban environments, making them more livable. Some of it is being driven by the EPA, like in our case, but some of them are just taking it on as good livability initiatives for their cities.
Yes? Is anybody going to trade roofs for parking spaces?
No. We're talking with the Lancaster City Parking Authority, but are you talking about trading?
Trading, yes. I want more parking spaces I can because a lot of companies, if I put the roof on the roof, I have more parking spaces.
I think that's the same concept of what National Malachy and Brush did. They essentially increased their square footage of their building because they didn't have to do all the stormwater capture on the ground. They would put it on the roof. So I think that's where we're going to get to developers. Their model is the model that will work with developers and people who are building new. But you're not seeing a lot of new building. It's still rather limited. And if they have parking, it's so much more affordable to infiltrate on the ground. Wired from a stormwater perspective, but our costs, what I've seen roughly, and it's varied. What kind of access do you have? How tall is the building? How much square footage are you putting on? All impact the price. But we've seen prices anywhere from $12 to $25 per square foot. In other regions, I've seen them as low as $8. A lot of it is who has experience and how much experience they have. We have a couple local roofing companies that have experience, but if we had more local companies with more experience, those prices would definitely drop. And I think we'd probably be talking more in the $8 to $15 range than $12 to $25. And then maintenance. Green roofs have maintenance. This is another huge barrier for us. First 2 or 3 years is high maintenance. You get a lot of pressure from weeds. You get a lot of pressure from birds coming on. you're creating this great natural environment, you're bringing habitat back to a roof, but a natural habitat, but then you're also getting lots of seeds and weeds. So really, we tend to tell our potential customers to treat it like landscaping. It needs to be weeded 2 or 3 times a year. You can't let the weeds go to seed because you don't want them to go to seed and perpetuate the problem. But if you maintain it well in the first 2 to 3 years, and once it gets fully grown in, that maintenance will go down dramatically, but there will always be maintenance on a roof. Every now and then you need to do some natural fertilizing, and every now and then on an annual basis you have to go in and